Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making this stylish top with a rope at the front and a tulip sleeve. Okay, so if this looks like what you're interested in, definitely keep on watching. So to begin, I have my pattern paper on fold here. This is my paper on fold because there's going to be an alteration on the neck part of this front. Okay, so I also drafted out my shoulder line. This is the shoulder line, the bust line, and the full length of this top. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is the first thing we normally do. We take our neck measurements, and this neck is really very high, so I'm taking it to be 3 by 3 inches. Okay, if you want it not to be that high, you can reduce yours. You can make yours 3.5. You can make yours anything you want it to be. All right, so I'm just going to connect these 2 points. Okay, so when I've gotten this, I'm going to take my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and this is what we have. On that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to connect this 1 inch straight to the shoulder, to the neck tip. Okay, so having achieved this, I'm going to go down by my armhole depth. Okay, we already know how to achieve our armhole depth. We divide our bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to it. So this new line here is going to be our chest line. Okay, so having achieved this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just taking whatever I have here to this point and I'm just imputing it here, so when I'm connecting it I can get a straight line. Okay, so having gotten that, I'm going to connect from our shoulder slope down to our chest line. Okay, so having gotten this, the next thing I want to get is our armhole curve, and to get it I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4. All right, so when I've gotten this, I'm going to divide our armhole depth by 2, and on the midpoint I'm going to go in by 0.5 inch. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm going to use my curve to connect this point, and this point together using my curve. Okay, so this is what we have at this point. Okay, so at this point we are almost through with this front. The next thing we are going to do now is to take this our bust measurement straight down. Okay, because this doesn't have a dart and it's not shaped. Okay, so I'm going to take it straight down, but if you don't want to do this, you can as well go in by 1 inch on the side. Okay, depends on what you want, but let me just go in by 0.5 inches on the side, so we give it a little shape. All right, so I'm just going to connect this to the bust line like this. All right, so at this point I'm going to go ahead now and cut this out. This is for the front alone. So to get that star at the front, this is what we are going to do. I spread this pattern that we have drafted out open like this. Okay, remember we folded this in when we were drafting it out, so I just spread it open, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to determine my underbust, because I want that style to pass through my underbust. Okay, since my underbust is 14.5, I'm going to mark 14.5 on this center line. Okay, this is just so I can connect through my underbust. Okay, so that my bust won't be showing just like the one in the picture. All right, so I'm going to do now is I'm going to determine how I want to how many inches I want the shoulder to be, because if you look at this picture, you're going to see that the other wrap has some inches of the shoulder on top of the other shoulder. Okay, so I want mine to be 2 inches. I just marked 2 inches here. Right, so from that 2 inches I'm going to connect with a curve till I meet the underbust. Then from underbust I take it to the shaping of the other side. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start making a dot with my pencil until I get a perfect curve. Okay, so this is what I have. This is how I'm going to cut this out. Okay, so let me just make it visible with my marker. Notice that I connected it down to the full length, because whatever we are doing, this must still be up to the full length of the top we are making. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and when we are tracing on our actual fabric, we are going to use it to trace out the two sides of the front. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm just going to cut this out, and then we go ahead and draft the back. I introduced a new pattern paper, and this time it's not on fold, right? So I went ahead to also draft out our basic body lines. This is the sleeve, this is the shoulder line, the bust point, and then the full length of the top. Okay, this is supposed to be full length, not on the bust. The full length of the top. And the first thing we are going to go ahead to do is the neckline as well. Okay, so the back of the neckline is not going to be as deep as the front, so I'm using 1 inch for the back, and for the width is going to be the same thing as the front. Okay, so which is 3 inches. I'm just going to connect these 2 points. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm going to take my shoulder measurement, divide it by 2 as well, come in by 1 inch like we normally do. Okay, so from there I'm going to connect my new shoulder slope to my neck point. Okay, from there I'm also going to go down by whatever I have when I divide my bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to it, which is our armhole depth. Okay, so this new line here is going to be our chest line. We already know that. Okay, so I'm going to come down, I'm going to take whatever I have here, input it here, so that I can connect and get a very straight line. Okay, so having gotten that, I'm going to come down with this straight line, which is going to be my armhole line. Okay, at this point I'm going to get my armhole curve as well. I'm going to do the exact same thing we did for the front. Okay, we're going to divide whatever we have here by 2, and then on the midpoint we are going to go in by 1.5, by half an inch. Okay, so we are also going to connect this with our curve. All right, so having gotten this, the next thing we are going to do is to put our dart. Okay, so this back is going to have a dart. All right, so I'm just taking my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and this is what I'm marking. Then I'm going to connect it with a straight line. All right, so this is what I have. To get the dart for the back, we're going to go in and out by 0.5. okay, on the dart line on the full length of the top. And when I've gotten this, I'm going to connect this straight to the chest line. All right, remember that this is the back. Okay, the back has a dart, but the front do not have a dart. Okay, so I'm connecting this straight to the chest line. Okay, so this is for our dart. Okay, so let me just make this a little clearer for us to be seeing it properly. Okay, so at this point what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take down this our chest line like we did before. Okay, but for the back you can decide to shape it, which of course I'm going to shape the back. So on the full length, which is the waistline, I'm dividing my waistline by 4 inches, adding it here. Then I'm going to replace whatever I have here, okay, which is 1 inch. All right, so this is what I have. I've already added my bust measurement, so here I'm just going to replace whatever I have here. All right, so I'm going to connect this. So this is where we are going to cut out now. All right, so this is for the back, and then the last thing we are going to do for the back is to shape in our center back, because you know that this is our center back, right? We are going to shape it in. Okay, this is to avoid the bulging up of our zipper when we fix it. Okay, so we are coming in on our waistline by 0.5 inches, and from there we are going to extend it straight to the middle of the neck and the chest line. Okay, so I'm just going to use a straight line and extend it on the diagonal form. All right, so this is what we have. I'm now going to go ahead and cut out all these parts. Okay, so all these shaded parts is going out. All these shaded parts is going out. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. This is what I have. When I was shading out the part that is going to be going off for the back, I realized I shade here, but we never really cut this part out. We're just going to cut it like this on our actual fabric and then take our dart when we are sewing the clothes. Remember, right? So this is what it looks like. This is the back part and this is the front. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and cut this on our actual fabric. So this is the African fabric I'm going to be using. This is African, a beautiful African print. To make this, you are going to be needing at least 1.5 yards to 2 yards of your African fabric if you are going to be using an African fabric, and it all depends on your size. Okay, so I also have this black lining that I'll be using. I'm going to interface this black lining with a medium gum stay, so you can go ahead and do that if you want. I am not interfacing my actual fabric because I don't want to. Okay, so you can go ahead and interface the two of them if that's what you want. All right, so let's just dive into drafting. Let's just dive into tracing out our pattern on our actual fabric. So here I just pinned my front. This is the front. I folded my fabric into two, as you can see, and I just pinned the front to it. Okay, so this front, if you're wondering why it's not folded, why I'm pinning it, is because it's not supposed to be folded. Okay, so this front is supposed to be like this because we are cutting two pieces of something that is exactly like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my sewing allowance. I'm supposed to add 1 inch here, but because I'm turning it to a lining, I'm going to add 1.5 inches. Okay, so that is it, 1.5 inches. Then on the armhole, I'm not adding anything. On the shoulder, I'm adding 0.5 inches. On the neckline, I'm adding 0.5 inches. Okay, on the other shoulder, this is the other shoulder, 0.5 inches as well. And on the down part, I'm also adding 0.5 inches. Okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do to the back also. I'm going to add my zipper allowance 1 inch, or you can add whatever works for you. I'm going to add my shaping allowance to the shaping side 1.5 inches. I'm going to add 0.5 inches every other place except for the armhole where I'm adding nothing at all. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and cut all this out. This is what it's going to look like. This is how it was when we cut it. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when we are done sewing it. All right, so this is the reason why you are not going to fold it when cutting it. All right, so I hope you understand this. This is what the down part is going to look like. This is what the neckline is going to look like. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and cut the back. What the back looks like: 1.5 inches on the side, 1 inch for the zipper allowance, so you can add more if you want, 0.5 inches on the neck and on the shoulder, and then the down part 0.5 inches as well. Okay, so we are through with cutting this. We are going to go ahead and also cut out exactly the same thing on the lining, and then we start joining the clothes. I've gone ahead to cut out my lining and also interfaced it, as you can see. So this is it. This is the front. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all this. Okay, so when I'm turning the front, I'm going to turn here. All right, I'm going to turn here and the side. I won't turn the neck for now. Okay, and I won't turn the armhole because of course it has a sleeve. And for the back, I'm going to turn the neck, the zipper side, the down part, and the side. Okay, so for the front, I'm not turning the neck and the armhole. All right, so I'll just go ahead now and turn all this side using 0.5 inches as the allowance. I've gone ahead to turn all the parts. This is the back. Like I said, I turned the neck. Okay, and I also went ahead to notch it so that it lays flat when I turn it to the wrong side. I also went ahead to trim out all the pointed edges as well for the front, and like I said, I didn't turn the neck. Okay, so for the side, I turned it and I went ahead to notch it. All right, so I'm just going to quickly turn this inside out. All right, so when I was done turning everything, I'm going to now go ahead and press it. Okay, so when I was sewing it, I attached a hemming gum to all the parts that I turned except for the side. So but if you still want to put your hemming gum at the side, please go ahead and do so. So I'm going to go ahead now and press them. Okay, after pressing it, I'm going to put my dart for the back. Remember, we only have that for the back, and when I was turning the down part of the back, I marked the dart so I know where exactly the dart is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now, press it, and then put the dart. After I have done putting the darts in the back and also ironing it, what I want ahead to do is to put this one together. Okay, look at it here. I just pinned it down. Let me remove the pin. So I placed it together, making sure it's equal. So what I did is I removed one part. You can decide to use the back, anyone you want. I removed it and I pinned it down because I'm going to use this one to turn all of them. Okay, so this is what I did. I pinned the rest down and I removed one. So I'm going to use this one now. Look closely to see how I'm going to do it. Okay, have you seen? I'm going to use this one that I brought out now to turn the rest of them. Okay, so that the neck is going to be nice and neat. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now to my sewing machine and turn it like this. Okay, just the neck. I'm not turning anywhere in the shoulder. I'm going to start there and I'm going to end at the other part of the neck. Okay, have you seen? So I'm not going to turn the shoulder, I'm only going to turn the neck. Okay, so I'm going to use this one now and turn the rest of the neck, and when I'm turning it, I'm also going to put my hemming gum so that once I turn it as inside out, it's going to lay flat. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my sewing machine now and do that. So this is what it looks like when I was done. When I was done, I notched it and I turned it to the right side. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Endeavor to make sure yours is as neat as this. Okay, it's very simple. Just use one side, just pin the three together and use one, because after sewing it's going to be four pieces, right? After pinning them together, use one and turn it around. Okay, notch it after turning so it's going to lay flat. Okay, so after turning it, I notched it and I pressed it. All right, so after that, I'm going to match this on top so it's not going to be opening up. Okay, so I just pin this down and I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and just match it on top. Okay, so after that, after matching it, I'm going to go ahead and join the two shoulders. Remember the way we normally join shoulders, right? We're going to place it like this, the right side facing each other, and then you're going to open it up like this. Okay, you're going to open it up like this, making sure that the shoulder is aligning. Okay, you're going to make sure that the shoulder is aligning here. All right, and then we join it together. All right, so after doing that, we are going to go ahead now and cut the sleeve. I finished joining this part, right? I realized I couldn't open here, so what you're going to do to join the two shoulder is you're going to use the back to turn the front. Okay, open up the back like this. Okay, then you're going to place the front here, making sure that it's at the center of the back. Okay, and then you're going to turn the back like this. You're going to use the back, the two back, both the clothes and the lining, to turn the front like this. So the front is going to be in between the two, the lining and the actual fabric at the back, and then you're going to turn the two, and when you open it up, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, I started to come show you so I can go ahead and turn it. The sleeve, I went ahead to draft out a basic sleeve block. Okay, so this is a basic sleeve, right? So after drafting it out, to get that style on the sleeve, you know it's a tulip sleeve, so what you're going to do now is to normally draft your basic sleeve. This is the length of the sleeve, this is what my basic sleeve look like. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this basic sleeve out, and when I'm done cutting it out, that is when I'm going to place that style we have in the sleeve. Okay, so this is the sleeve. This is what my basic sleeve looks like. Okay, so to get that style, you know that style is, it has a, it's like a wrap. Okay, that means that from this sleeve I am going to cut out one part from here, and from another one I'm going to cut out another part. Okay, so let's dive into it now. All right, so what I'm going to do is from one side of this sleeve, from the center of this sleeve like this, I'm going to go out on one side by 4 inches. Okay, so this 4 inches depends on what you want. If you want it to be very wrapped, if you want it to be lightly wrapped, okay, if you want it to be lightly wrapped, you can go out by 2 inches. So this is what we have. After we have gotten this, the next thing we are going to do is to connect this to this one. Okay, so from there I'm going to connect with my curve to the down part of the other side of the sleeve. Okay, so this is what we have for one side. I'm going to cut this out, and when I'm cutting on my actual fabric, I'm going to do it the same way we did for the front. Okay, so let me cut this out. So remember that this is the center of this sleeve. Okay, so this is what we have. When we are cutting it now on our actual fabric, we are going to place it like this instead of folding it. Okay, we are going to place it open like this and cut on our actual fabric. Here I have a fabric I folded into 4. Okay, this is folded into 4, and I spread it open like this. Remember when I said that if you're cutting it on our actual fabric, we are going to fold it open. Okay, so all around I'm going to add 0.5 inches. Okay, 0.5 inches all around. Okay, and for the side I didn't shape it. It's not equal. I didn't use my actual sleeve measurement because it's just going to be big. So I just, after getting my sleeve, my sleeve cap, I just went straight, if you noticed. So I'm just going to cut this out like this. So this is it. After cutting, I'm going to go ahead and notch the midpoint. Okay, so you must notch this midpoint so you know where the middle of your sleeve starts. Okay, so this is our sleeve. This is how it's going to look when we are done. Okay, so this is how it's going to look. This is called a tulip sleeve. All right, this is it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and fix our sleeve. Before we do that, we are going to fold this place tiny. You're going to make sure that it's very tiny. Remember we added 0.5 inches to it, so we're just going to fold this side and this side, okay, for the both sleeves, and then after that we are going to attach it to our top. Okay, so after attaching it, the next thing we are going to do is to shape the top, put our zipper, and this top is basically ready. So here I'm done fixing the hand. I also went ahead to fix the zip. Okay, so I shaped it. This is what it looks like. So the last thing I'm going to do is to fix this rope. Okay, I went ahead to prep the rope. So I have no measurement for this rope, so just do whatever works for you. Okay, so I'm just going to fix the zip, and this, I'm going to fix the zip where the dart is supposed to be. Okay, so this is where the dart is supposed to be. Because we didn't put that for the front, it's going to stand like this. Okay, that is why you are seeing it moving when I'm trying to get the center, because it's supposed to stand like this. Okay, so this is where the dart is supposed to be, right? That is where I'm going to fix the rope. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and match the rope, and this is ready. Okay, so this is how beautiful it looks. See how beautiful and classic our sleeve is. All right, so let me go ahead now and fix the rope. So this is how it looks like when we are done. This top is absolutely beautiful. So if you have watched to this part, thank you very much for sticking by. If you are yet to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up. Right, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.